Hello, today I'm going to introduce you to the recently released MaizePlus mod for FS22. If you're used to this awesome mod from FS19, then a lot of it will be fairly familiar. However, if you're new to Farming Simulator, then you might be interested to learn what this mod has to offer. MaizePlus is a global script that can be used on almost any map, and it introduces significant changes to forage crops, animal feeding, offering you some enhanced realism. Let's take a look. More detailed tutorials will be available for each of the features of MaizePlus on my channel, but just going to give you a quick introduction to what it's all about. With the addition of MaizePlus, one of the most noticeable changes is the introduction of multiple types of silage. So silage made from crops such as wheat, barley, oats, and the other grain crops, excluding corn, you will get whole crop silage from, and silage from the base game is also replaced by whole crop silage. And then grass and maize will produce grass silage, which we have some here, and also maize silage. And these can be used in the reworked animal feeding system that I will talk to you about in a bit. All three of these types of silage can be fermented in a bunker silo, as you can see here, or they can be baled and wrapped using most balers that are available. If you are making grass silage, you can also add cut potatoes into the bunker before you ferment it, and you can add cut sugar beets into fresh maize before you ferment that. On top of this, there are the options to buy additional types of silage. So if we go into the store and into bales, you will see that we have we can buy the grass, the maize, and the whole crop silage, but you can also buy alfalfa silage, clover silage, and horse silage. These obviously are used again in the feeding system. You can also use beet pulp and brewer's grain to produce silage. I'll talk about those in a separate video. If the map has crops like clover and alfalfa built in and they are set up correctly, then you should be able to use those as well to work with MaizePlus to produce hay or silage. Moving on to Grasswork, and again I will do a more detailed video on this, but MaizePlus adds in mower conditioning to the game. Again, we had this feature in FS19 with MaizePlus, so if we mow the grass without the conditioner enabled, we get fresh or wet grass, and then you can enable the conditioner on any mower by pressing the Z key or Z key depending on where you are from, and you'll then see that we get conditioned grass. So what are conditioned and wet grass, you may ask? So MaizePlus reintroduces the multiple stage tedding from FS19. So you have fresh or wet grass, which is what's on the ground here, and we then have conditioned grass, semi-dry grass, and hay. Fresh grass and conditioned grass can both be produced from mowing, and then you have to ted for semi-dry and hay, and you can actually choose how much tedding you want to do. So if I jump into the mower here, you will see in the F1 menu we have tether stage base game, and that will take your conditioned grass and turn it straight into hay. And then if we press the Y key, we can select to have conditioned grass. So if I then turn the tether on, and I'm going to drive forwards just a little bit, and then so we are tedding our fresh or wet grass into conditioned grass. And then if I stop, and then again we can go press the Y key and go to semi-dry grass. And then if I stop again and we press the Y key, we can go to hay. Why would you do this? I will cover in more detail in the full video on Grasswork. Just a quick introduction here. Let's move on to the next feature, which is the store. Because MaizePlus is a global script, it is not possible to add additional growable crops into the map. So a number of items have been added into the store to help out where you're missing some gaps and some crops, as I mentioned. So we have alfalfa hay and silage, clover hay, clover silage, horse hay, horse silage, and we have some other options for horse hay and hay. and alfalfa hay in there as well. On top of the bales, we have the return of the Doika branded feed. So we have chicken feed, we have beet pellets, we have lots of components that you might want to make your TMR. I will cover all of these in much more detail in a proper separate video, which will be linked in the playlist below. If actually it's in here still. So you've got all the Doika feeds. We've got boxes of carrots and potatoes, so you might want to use carrots in your TMR, or some of the animals do require carrots to be fed. And then we have molasses, filtered water, which you can use in your TMR, and Luprasil, which will help with your CCM. Alongside that, we have a bunch of components in the construction menu. So if we go to silos, we have the bunker silos, which you saw me using a while ago. We have a small manure heap, and we also have some silos for storing and containers for buying the Doika feeds from. They also act as a grain mill, so you can buy your wheat and barley from there. And we have buy points for things like beet pulp, brewer's grain, and the Doika feed, as I mentioned. There are also another number of additional vehicles that are added in, one of which is the starter mill, which is shown here. This allows you to turn corn into raw CCM, which you can then ferment into CCM fermented, and also you can use this to produce grain grist or grain mix from wheat, barley and oats, which again is used in the animal feeding. If you are making CCM, you can use the Luprasil pallet that I just mentioned to increase the yield. And if we quickly jump into the store, you'll see we have a Doika and a Stada branded truck here. And there is also, I think it's under here, no, there is a Doika branded trailer as well. So this holds 30 to 50,000 litres and takes most products in. Moving on to one of my favourite features of MaizePlus, the Grasslands subsoiler and knife roller. And what this will allow you to do is, so the knife roller is essentially a mulcher. So that will do your mulching of your grass fields after you have mowed them. And then the Grassland subsoiler will deal with your need to plough. So if we very quickly jump into the map, you'll see that this field needs ploughing. The great thing about this is it does not destroy the grass behind you, so the grass will regrow without you having to replant it. And it's also adding a fertilization state, and this does work with MaizePlus, and so it will add a small amount of nitrogen. Again, I'll cover this in more detail in a separate video, just trying to give you a quick feel for everything that is in MaizePlus. MaizePlus completely reworks the animal feeding system, with all of the animals switching to a parallel feeding system. And what this means is that animals take food from all 4 feed bars equally, not just the top feed bar. Each category for each animal requires slightly different feed types to fill the feed bars, and the details of that are in the PDF, and I will also be doing a more detailed video on each of those. But if we just have a quick look in the menu for cows, for example, you can see they take 25% of base food, roughage, moisture food, and power food. Those are detailed in the PDF as to which is which. MaizePlus also offers you the ability to produce different recipes for TMR. You can have the base game one, or you can have much more complicated, more realistic feeding options. So if I just jump in here, you can change those in the F1 menu just by using the Y key. So we've got the standard base game one, we have a more realistic one. We have several options then for beef cattle, young stock, dairy cattle, and you can also use it to produce pig food. All of these things are customizable through the Animal Additions mod, which is an additional mod that you can add to the game. It's worth noting that as downloaded, MaizePlus does slightly increase food consumption for all animals, and then if you add in the Animal Food Additions mod as released, that significantly increases the consumption of food, but also the production of the animals. And as I said, all this is customizable, and there will be detailed tutorials on how to do that. So that's a very quick introduction to the MaizePlus mod. MaizePlus adds many new features to the game, enhancing animal husbandry and feeding, the production of feed. If you've got any questions about how this mod works or you want more details, there is a PDF guide which is available on ModHub or linked below in this video, or feel free to join the MaizePlus Discord and ask your questions there. We hope you enjoy this mod. If you do, please go into ModHub and rate it. That really helps out the team that have created this. There are many more detailed videos available on each of the elements of MaizePlus through my YouTube channel in the FS22 MaizePlus playlist, and there are also videos available from the alien pool in German. I'll have a link for those below as well for the German community. Yeah, hope you found this useful. Bye for now.